I'm Mr. MegaManFan, and today on Homebrew Review, we're looking at JoustPong, a game that I both love for its absurdity and which I honestly can't recommend for several different reasons. We'll get into those in just a moment, but first, let's just stop to appreciate the nature of this game itself. Someone said, what if we combined Joust and Pong? And they were probably laughing over a beer when they said it. And then somebody else said, yeah, I can do that. Let's make it happen. That someone was Kirk Israel, who eventually renamed JoustPong to Flap Ping to avoid any trademark repercussions over the names Joust and Pong. But the gameplay idea is conveyed by either name, because Ping Pong is where the name Pong came from. And what do you do in Joust? You flap to a higher level to take out enemies beneath you when you clash. So, Flap Ping, Joust Pong, same difference. Now, that's a fun, absurd idea in and of itself, combining one of the biggest arcade games of the 1970s with one of the biggest arcade games of the 1980s. Reportedly, even inspired by a post on the news group Rec Video Games Classic that said, the future of games is Joust and Pong. So that drunken conversation turned into a real life project. And it does work. Let's be honest about that. Let's call it exactly what it is. It is Joust and Pong. You and either the AI or human-controlled player 2 have to flap to meet the Pong ball as it moves back and forth across the screen. If you don't mash that button and flap up to the height that the ball is at, you're going to miss it. However, there's a problem here. The unbeatable pterodactyl from the original Joust game, which is a fun inclusion and definitely adds to the difficulty of the gameplay, but I think it overkills adding that difficulty, because not only does the pterodactyl knock the ball back if it runs into it, if it runs into you, your Joust Pong pedal spazzes out completely and you can miss a ball that you were about to hit because the pterodactyl hit you. As a result, when you're playing against the AI, it is really hard to win Joust Pong. Maybe it's a little easier with a human opponent, but I'm unable to demonstrate that in this particular video. Also not demonstrated in this video is an alternate mode of flapping, aka Joust Pong, where you can play a breakout style game by defending a base and trying to destroy the enemy base, which has been referred to as Poor Lords for its similarity to the Atari 2600 classic game Warlords that you played with a paddle controller. You might feel that both of those games would be easier with said paddle controller, but then it wouldn't be Joust, would it? No, it would not. So I give Kirk Israel all the credit in the world for maintaining the faithful merger here. He really did combine Joust and Pong. And that novelty is fun. It's fun if you download the ROM and play it in emulation. It's fun if you put it on some kind of flash cart or EEPROM and put it into a 2600. I don't know about the long-term viability of the game beyond simple amusement for combining these two things. It's not even that the AI is the problem here. It's the pterodactyl. I mean, don't get me wrong, the AI is not smart. It misses balls that it very easily could hit, even if the pterodactyl wasn't interfering. But the pterodactyl will help the AI opponent win more times than not just by screwing you over right as you're about to flap into the ball and hit it, or it'll just knock a ball right back to you right after you hit it, and you won't have time to flap up and get to it, or flap down to get to it. Gravity will take care of that. You'll fall back down if you're not flapping. But you know what I'm saying. You can't adjust yourself quickly enough when the pterodactyl knocks the ball back to you. It's fun, but I don't recommend it. I'm very conflicted when I do this review, because on Homebrew Review, I like to find good things to recommend, or be honest with you if I don't recommend them, This one's kind of stuck in the middle. It's like, it's fun, but I don't recommend it. I like the idea. I even think the idea was executed well, but at the end of the day, I would rather play Joust and actually defeat other enemy riders on their winged beasts. Or I would rather play Pong, where I have a smart AI opponent or a smart human opponent, and we're hitting the ball back and forth to each other. I don't know that really there's any extra benefit to combining the two other than for the laughs. You could combine Pac-Man and Space Invaders. I'm sure there's some way to merge those two. I'm sure it would be good for a laugh. At the end of the day, at the end of it all, you would just rather play Pac-Man or Space Invaders, not a Space Invaders game where Pac-Man eats the aliens as they march down the screen, and not a Pac-Man game where the aliens march down through the maze and kill you before the ghost monsters can. Like, just because you can combine two things doesn't necessarily mean you should. It's like, what can I say? It's like hacking sprites into Super Mario Brothers just because you can. Doesn't necessarily make the game better. It just proves you can do it. Now, if you designed newer challenging levels and added those to Mario Brothers, then that would be something. Or if you gave new power-ups to Mario and coded them into the game, that would be something. I just have to commend Kirk Israel for his programming skill and for taking a joke to the furthest extent and actually proving it could be done. I have to recognize skill when I see skill. Whether or not I think it's a commercially viable product to sell, that's irrelevant to the discussion here. The programming wizardry to make an Atari 2600 game, let alone one that works, let alone one where I find it actually represents the things that it intends to, commendable. To refer back to Pac-Man again, I actually like Pac-Man on Atari 2600, but as I've said in a previous review, I wouldn't say it's the arcade game Pac-Man. I'd say it was a game that was given the name Pac-Man as a license that's actually a completely different maze game altogether. They licensed the term Pac-Man, slapped it on a maze game, and it's a fun maze game to play, but I wouldn't call it Pac-Man. In that same respect, this is both Joust and Pong, but it didn't license those names, which is why it changed to Flapping in the end. But I wouldn't say it's either Joust or Pong. It's some kind of bizarro alternate reality dimension where those two designers of those two games worked in the same place at the same time and merged their projects together into one. So let's just call it a what-if game or an Elseworlds game. This is what happens when you go through the dimensional portal and see what's on the other side. And what you find there is JoustPong or Flapping, whatever you want to call it. Good on Kirk Israel. Good on Rick Video Games Classic. Good on Atari Age for actually publishing it. I guess if you really love Joust or you really love Pong and you have an Atari 2600 and you want to amuse your friends, buy this, throw it in the system, invite them over for a few beers, and laugh your way through this. As a single player experience, no. 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 I like it. I don't mind that it exists. But no. Don't need to buy it. Don't even need to necessarily do anything more than download the ROM, play it in an emulator, and amuse yourself for a little while with this product. And that's what it is. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. This has been Homebrew Review. As always, thank you for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe. All of those things help the channel grow. If you really want to be extra special, you could click on that notification bell. I know everybody plugs that in their videos. You know what? I don't care so much. If you do, that's great. If not, I release new videos every day at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. And I have weekly shows that you can come back for even without that. Because every Monday is Retro Hunting. Every Tuesday is the PC Engine Files. Every Wednesday is Homebrew Review. And every Thursday is Genesis Does. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I just freestyle it, and whatever I feel like doing, or any random slice of life videos I decide to put up, those are those days where I just get to flex a little bit. But 7 days a week, you'll get new content on this channel. So if you're a subscriber, that helps the metrics. But if you check back, even if you're not a subscriber, that helps too. But subscribing definitely helps the most, and liking the video sure helps a lot. Comments, they get the algorithm to recognize the video. So any of those things you can do will be beneficial to the channel. Okay, I think I've rambled long enough. You can watch my final gameplay session of JoustPong when I finally win a match against a computer opponent, and I'll let the video ride out on that. See you next time.